Welcome back to my channel, guys. Today we're going to do a deep dive on Colton Underwood. Whew, this is going to be a wild ride. So grab your snacks, grab your popcorn, whatever you need, okay? Because I have a feeling this is going to be a very long video. This is, to me, a crazy story. Like, I can't believe this is a real life story. And the irony is that this guy was on a reality show basically playing a character. His real life was much more interesting, is much more interesting. I've only ever done one deep dive on a person before, on a human, and that was on the founder of Grindr. You can watch that after this video if you're curious. Otherwise, I feel like when I do deep dive type videos, what I call video essays, which sounds so much more polished than a deep dive, it's on a subject, it's on a topic, not on a person. But here's what happened. Okay, I was on the Instagram just scrolling through, and Colton Underwood showed up on my explore page. Okay, and I saw that he had this partner. It looked like they were married, and there's a baby. And I'm like, wait a minute, isn't this the guy who came out as gay like 5 minutes ago? And now he's married and has a kid. Like, what is this guy's life story? I looked him up, I did some research, aka I went straight to his Wikipedia page. And I am shocked by this guy's life story. Like, you can't make this shit up. This is so crazy. The Cliff Notes version, the AI summary will say, let's see if I can get this in 20 seconds or less. And this is all I knew about him previously, by the way. I don't know if you guys know of Colton Underwood well, or you just know the basics that I know. The basics that I knew prior to making this video was just that Colton Underwood was one of the bachelors on the show The Bachelor, right? And I'll get into The Bachelor in a second, because that's a whole other, that's a topic in itself. Okay, I have a lot to say about The Bachelor, but he was on the show The Bachelor, there to date all these eligible women, eligible bachelorettes, I guess. And then within literally just a few years of being on the show, dating these women on national television, he came out as gay. So that's all that I knew about him. The story in between, the story arc, we'll call it, is way more juicy, way more interesting. So let me back up for a second. Who is Colton Underwood? Who is this guy? Where did he come from? Colton Underwood, to me, is like the all-American image that Americans love. He looks to me like the human version of a golden retriever, Grew up in the Midwest, in Indiana, became a professional football player. So very all-American image, right? The guy from the Midwest, good-looking guy, sweet smile. Not only does he play football, but he plays professional football. And he ends up on this show, The Bachelor. First on the 14th season as just a contestant. And then they brought him back to be the main bachelor, meaning he went from being a contestant of, I don't know, let's say 20 men, trying to get the attention of this one bachelorette who's like, the main character kind of. And then he ended up getting his own show with The Bachelor, where he was the lead character looking for the perfect wife. Now let's talk about The Bachelor for a second, because I can't just gloss over the subject of The Bachelor. The Bachelor is one of the only reality shows in existence that I loathe. I love reality TV. I feel like I talk on this channel quite a bit about reality TV, whether it's Flavor of Love, arguably the greatest reality show of all time, in my opinion, The Real Housewives. Listen, I'm not above trashy reality TV. I love reality television. I love seeing like kooky characters, real life, on my television screen, right? But The Bachelor, I guess that's the reason I hate The Bachelor. The Bachelor is the opposite. The Bachelor, I don't know how scripted it is as a reality show, but you can just tell that it's like fake. It's inauthentic. It's inauthentic. And I think shows like The Bachelor are actually kind of dangerous for our society, because they perpetuate these myths around what love is supposed to look like. And it's just very much a show that celebrates toxic stereotypes around dating. Like, it's very heteronormative, Caucasian. It just feels like what America has sold the world on what like the dynamic of dating is supposed to look like. It's always these like, dapper white men, Prince Charming, and then the women all kind of look the same as well. I feel like they're always of a certain socioeconomic level. They tend to mostly be white. There's always like two black contestants. They rarely make it, far in the competition. It just feels very formulaic. That's the word. The Bachelor to me as a TV show feels very formulaic and disingenuous. And I just think it's like in 2025, I don't understand how this show still exists. It would be one thing if they were breaking the mold every season, like kind of like America's Next Top Model, right? Like if they had plus size models, you know what I mean? Like if they switched it up, if they made it like one season, it'll be all Latinos or all black contestants or a gay season. Like then I would be more curious about this show, representing actual society versus like this myth that is, and when I say myth, I just mean this image of like, again, the Prince Charming and the damsel in distress. Anyway, I digress. Okay, I digress. But that's how I feel about The Bachelor. So our little Colton goes on The Bachelor. And of course, he represents exactly what they love, right? He's the all American hunk from the Midwest who's just looking for, it's tough out there. It's tough dating when you're a football star. And so he becomes the lead bachelor. And a huge part of his whole shtick, which again, this very much represents my concerns with the show The Bachelor that I just presented. His whole thing is he's a virgin waiting till marriage. Spoiler alert, he was lying. So after the show wraps in, I think, 2018, he ends up dating the woman that he selected as the winner of the show, the contestant, the final contestant. They actually end up dating for almost 2 years, which, again, I don't watch The Bachelor. I'm not a fan of the show, so I don't know how those relationships typically evolve, but I'm assuming that most of the couples on the show don't even last that long because there's nothing natural about dating 20 people at the same time on a TV show and you spend what, like 3 weeks with them, and then you expect that to be like an authentic, foundation for a relationship. But listen, they lasted almost 2 years. Now, almost 2 years later, it's 2020. Months after they break up, she files a restraining order on him. She claims that he was stalking not only her Los Angeles home, but her parents' home, which is not in Los Angeles. As if that wasn't bad enough, allegedly he was sending her threatening text messages from an anonymous phone number. It's not over yet. The final thing that she claimed in this filing of the restraining order was that he planted a tracking device on the bottom of her car. So much for the all-American boy next door, the charmer. Eventually, this restraining order gets dropped months later, but concerning at the very least. I mean, those are very specific details. Like, I don't think you could even claim that. I don't think people make up those kinds of details. A tracking device, like, that's a very specific thing. Stalking your parents' house, like, so all that drama happens. And then the following year, he suddenly comes out as gay. Now, I didn't know that there was a backstory to why he came out and came out so abruptly. This man got caught in a gay sauna in Los Angeles, of all places. So he was prompted to come out. It's not like he, thought, okay, it's time for me to unveil this to the world. He got outed by being blackmailed at this gay sauna, which he actually was in 2019. Now, if you've been paying attention to the timeline I've been setting up here, he went to that gay sauna while in a relationship with the woman from The Bachelor. So he's hanging out at a gay sauna in Los Angeles, of all places. And the reason why I keep harping on Los Angeles is, at least if you're going to go to a gay sauna while you're down low, go to like some random gay sauna in the middle of nowhere, Spain, or like, I don't know, Japan. But Los Angeles, out of all the places in the world, Los Angeles, a place notorious for celebrities and paparazzi, that's where you decided to discreetly go to a gay sauna. By the way, if it's not clear by the end of this video, and I'm going to say this in the most politically correct, respectful way that I can, Colton seems like what they call in the South a few chocolate chips short of a cookie. He just seems to kind of lack critical thinking skills. It's one thing to get caught kissing a guy or holding hands with a guy, or you're clearly on a date with a guy, or a guy from grindr, screenshots your photo. But a gay sauna, I've never been to a gay sauna, but my understanding of a gay sauna is it's basically a public place for gay orgies. I feel like you're asking to get outed at that point. So anyway, he goes to this gay sauna in 2019, and I guess a fan snapped a nude photo of him, and then in 2021 threatens Colton, saying, "I'm going to leak this if you don't do, I guess, XYZ." Who knows? Maybe he was probably asking for money. Who knows? But Colton is like, "Oh my God, what do I do?" He consults his publicist, which to me is all, I'm smirking because I can't believe that in this modern era, people still have publicists. Like, dude, you're hanging out at a gay sauna. Like, at this point, just come out. You don't need to pay a publicist to tell you this. So his publicist tells him it's time to come out publicly. Of course, he does a whole magazine spread. But again, I had no idea about this gay sauna thing. I just remember him coming out publicly. Very manipulative and strategic. No mention, at least as far as I know at the time, there was no mention of gay sauna gate, what I'm going to call gay sauna gate. I suppose that came out later on as he felt more comfortable with his sexuality. He shared this whole ordeal with the sauna and the fan who took a photo of him. So as these men will do, the more comfortable he became with being gay, the more information he shared. Turns out he was active on grindr years before being on The Bachelor. He was already hooking up with guys behind closed doors before The Bachelor. So this whole shtick of I'm a virgin, I'm the all-American boy next door looking for my wife, it's all fraudulent. It's all fake. It's all bullshit. So later that year, after coming out publicly, Colton starts dating this guy. 2 years later, about 2 years later, they get married. The year after that, they have a kid together via, obviously, like in vitro. And that's 2024. So within about 3 years, this guy comes out publicly as gay, gets married to a man, and they now have a kid together. I've been gay much longer than that, and I can barely get a date. I'm like, this guy got married and has a kid? Am I the only one, though, who's looking at this like all that glitters is not gold? Like, am I the only one who's looking at this whole story kind of side-eyeing the whole thing? I just don't believe that it's possible for somebody who sounds, again, not very authentic, not very honest, not very emotionally mature, to just come out and suddenly he's ready for marriage with a guy and they're ready to have a kid. And okay, this is the part of the video that gets a little bit, I hope I don't get canceled for this, a little bit shady. I don't see this couple making sense. Like, am I the only one who's not understanding this dynamic between these two guys? Like, they just don't fit together. Listen, maybe Colton has a thing for silver daddies. Listen, I like silver daddies myself. I'm a fan. But I guess I just see Colton being with a silver daddy that's like him 20 years later. I don't see this dynamic. Like, just from one quick glance at his partner, his husband, by the way, they took each other's last names, which is interesting. Looking at his partner, I can tell that his partner is an educated man, maybe even a little bit nerdy, and just a totally different life path than a reality TV star turned pro football player turned, social media influencer. Like, I don't see it. I don't see it. And also, frankly, I'm like, what's going on here? Like, who's the bottom? The husband totally looks like the bottom to me. But then with how wild this whole story that I've shared has been so far, I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if Colton is secretly like a total power bottom and he just loves presenting as the masculine football player next door, which is why, by the way, I was curious to see, did one of them take the other's name? and turns out they both took each other's name. I just think this entire story is completely gnarly. The story arc of Colton Underwood is only paralleled by one other reality TV star that I can think of where the real life is more interesting than their character on reality TV, and that's Countess Luann. If you're familiar with Countess Luann, that's a whole other video topic, but Countess Luann literally was a countess married to a count. She went from countess to convict. This is on that level of like, who is this human being who's lived so many, these people, that saying 0 to 100, pedal to the metal. These people are living like 10 lives at once. Like this is some hard living, okay? This is life, 3x speed, okay? Their life at 300%. Of course, I'm laughing about this and I'm making it, comical. But people like this are disturbing to me. Of course, physically, superficially speaking, he's a good looking guy. But it's funny how at this age, people like this, gay guys like this that I encounter on apps or in person or public figures like this that you see, to me, they're walking red flags. I just can't imagine. Listen, it's one thing to be closeted. I'm not knocking that, okay? We all know people. We all know people who are closeted still, or were closeted forever, or were married to women. I shared a story recently about a guy that I'm hanging out with, and it's kind of a complicated dynamic, but he got out of a 10-year marriage to a woman. I'm not knocking that. Everybody has their own process. But I can't imagine leaning into that down low or, closeted or discreet, whatever you want to call it, that life so much, leaning into it so much that you're like, I'm even going to go on the reality TV show that's all about celebrating heterosexual, Christian values. It's one thing to be discreet and do your thing on the side potentially. It's a whole other thing to join, this national platform that's all about selling that image and that again, that myth. And again, he wasn't just lying about that. He was lying about being a virgin. He was with the chick from The Bachelor, and meanwhile, he's hooking up with dudes on grindr behind closed doors. And let's go back to the restraining order for a second. Can you imagine? Listen, people do crazy stuff when they're in love. Not that that's an excuse. But the fact that he did all that, and he's messing with guys on the side, like he's not even that into her, clearly, if he knows that he's gay and he's cheating on her, but he's outside of her parents' house. Like, am I the only one who sees all these red flags here? But of course, welcome to modern society that he has a huge audience on social media after coming out. He had a Netflix show about his coming out journey. Because again, just like The Bachelor, people love this wholesome story of the boy next door realizing he's gay and he's just figuring it out. In the words of another iconic reality TV star, Caroline Manzo, I am not buying it. As I predicted, this video is turning out to be super long. If you're still with me, first off, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining my, I don't know what this is, story time? Deep dive, that's what I had called it, this deep dive. Did you know all of this, by the way? Did you guys know all these sordid details? They're pretty significant to the story, right? It was a little bit too black and white before, the guy on The Bachelor comes out as gay. It's like a sandwich, right? That was just the bread. The meat of it all is the backstory. That's the juicy part of all this. Have I been holding this the whole time with my pinky up? Totally unintentional, if so.